10 years is a long time to be waiting for any new vehicle, but that's exactly what Jeep buyers have been doing for the past decade. As you can see right beside me, I'm finally testing for a week the all-new 2021 Grand Cherokee L. Not only is it an all-new WL generation of the Grand Cherokee, this is the first ever three-row version of Jeep's popular mid-size SUV. It's built, like I said in my first review, off of an entirely new Alfa Romeo Giorgio platform. It's a roughly 15 inches longer than the previous two-row Grand Cherokee, and like other Grand Cherokee and Jeep models before it, you still have plenty of off-road capability and Jeep prowess that you expect from any vehicle that wears the 7-slotted grille. So if you guys have been waiting for a three-row crossover with the Jeep badge, was this all-new Grand Cherokee L worth the wait? Stay tuned to find out. So with any new gasoline-powered vehicle, a lot of you are probably wondering what's going on underneath the hood. And this is where the Grand Cherokee took a little bit of a safe route, at least at launch, because we don't have any type of new powertrains available. So the base engine that I'm driving here is the 3.6-liter Pentastar V6. And just like the engine before it in the previous generation, it makes 290 horsepower and 257 pound-feet of torque. The 290 horsepower is just fine, but the torque figure is definitely on the lighter side, especially when you're considering the fact that this is a much larger vehicle this year, although Jeep has managed to keep the weight in check because it's only a smidge heavier versus the previous generation two-row Grand Cherokee. Now, if you guys need more power, there's also a 5.7-liter V8 that's available on the Overland model that I'm driving for about $3,200. It ups the horsepower significantly to about 357, and you get roughly 100 more pound-feet of torque. It's a worthy option if you guys plan to do a lot of towing and hauling of more than 5 passengers on board. Now, it all goes out through a very smooth and responsive 8-speed automatic transmission. It's the ZF 8-speed, and you can take your pick between either rear or four-wheel drive with 3 different four-wheel drive systems. This one here is the trail-rated Overland with the off-road package. So we have the Quadra Drive 2 system with the electronic limited slip rear differential and the full low-range transfer cases. This is a real off-road ready, trail-rated Jeep and it's the only one really you can find in the three-row family SUV segment. Now, fuel economy is rated at 18 in the city, 25 on the highway. That's about average numbers for the segment. The V8 is going to be even thirstier, so I would personally wait for the 4xe version if you guys want more power, some electric-only range, and better fuel economy. Jeep has not revealed when they'll actually announce that model for the L. However, it has been revealed, of course, for the two-row Grand Cherokee, which they're hoping to reveal very soon. It was supposed to be done in New York. Now, 0 to 60 for the V6 should be around the mid 8-second range. We'll test that out this time since I have the vehicle out for a full week. And if you guys plan to tow, this will tow a maximum of around 7,200 pounds. This one here tows about 6,200 pounds because of what's the equipment that's on it. And as this one sits, it weighs in at just over 5,000 pounds. So this is definitely one of the heaviest options in this segment. Now, if you're a little bit confused on where the Grand Cherokee L fits in here, because now Jeep, of course, has the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer, which looks very similar to the Grand Cherokee L. So some of you may be wondering, where does this one fit? Well, Jeep wants you to compare this car to something like a Kia Telluride, a Volkswagen Atlas, a Ford Explorer, a Chevrolet Traverse, a Honda Pilot, a Toyota Highlander. However, you should note that this is significantly larger than all of those vehicles that I mentioned at 205 inches long. It's about 10 inches longer than something like the new Highlander, but it is a very handsome looking car. I love the Jeep signature 7-slotted grille, as you can see, which houses a camera right there and some sensors for the radar adaptive cruise control. All of them will come standard with full LED headlights with an LED turn signal, LED low and high beams, daytime running lights, and LED fog lights. Down here you can see the Overland gives you these massive recovery tow hooks, although I wish they weren't covered in chrome. There's a lot of chrome on this vehicle that I would personally want to black out, but the Overland model is one of the 3 top-end trim levels. It kind of shares that position with the Summit and the Summit Reserve, but you do have to add a few options on the Overland to get it there. Now, the one thing about the new Grand Cherokee is that if you guys want it in some brighter colors, the brightest color that Jeep offers it in is like a dark burgundy red and white. This particular one is the black crystal onyx color, which, does look good, but it looks terrible on camera. I know a lot of you really like black cars, which can look good when they're clean, but keep in mind, they get dirty and they show scratches pretty easily. Now, my tester with the off-road package not only includes these 18-inch off-road all-terrain tires, although these are really just Michelin Primacy sort of all-terrain tires with a slightly meatier, outer tread. These 18-inch wheels are definitely better if you guys plan to do off-roading because it gives you much more sidewall. You have a 265/60 series R18 tires. You can see the suspension. You get the air suspension when you have this model, and it does give the ability to raise the vehicle up about 4.2 inches total. So at maximum, this vehicle can do probably around just under 11 inches of ground clearance, and Jeep says it'll afford a maximum of 2 feet of water. So that's very impressive considering, in this segment, you don't typically find vehicles that are off-road capable. You can see there's a trail rated 4x4 badge here that you get with this off-road package. There's a nice Grand Cherokee badge here on the side with the American flag, just like what you get on the Wagoneer. And then my Tester, as you can see here, has a massive panoramic sunroof that's included on this trim. It is optional on other trims, and the Overland models you can get with a full one color panel piece, or you can also spec in a two-tone like I showed you guys on the Summit Reserve, which does come as standard. Now at the back, you can see very skinny horizontal LED taillights, which are full LED. And I just overall like the boxy shape of this car. It's not quite as stunning as something like the Kia Telluride, or striking at least, but it definitely has its own unique Jeepness to the design, especially if you guys go for the white with the black roof two-tone. I think that's a really great color option. I do wish that Jeep offered the ability to delete the chrome, at least on this model here. There's a lot of chrome on this vehicle, and you can see there's some integrated exhaust tips here in the rear bumper. Where the muffler itself isn't actually connected to that. Now, opening up the tailgate of the Grand Cherokee L, this is a big vehicle, like I said, at 205 inches long, and you do get a little bit more cargo space than some of its competitors. With this third row seat up here, Jeep says you get around 17.1 cubic feet of space. There is some underfloor storage underneath here, which is a really good amount of storage for a vehicle like this. There's also some storage here to the side. If you want to fold down these seats, just push that little button here. You can see it's a power electrically folding seat mechanism. And when you do that, you roughly get around 44 cubic feet of space, which is a pretty good amount of space. This is about what you expect in a vehicle in this segment. You can see third row actually is surprisingly comfortable. I'll sit back there in a moment. And if you want to fold down the second row, Jeep says that'll expand it to around 84.6 cubic feet of space, which is definitely on the high end, but you should know that something like the Chevrolet Traverse offers roughly 12 more cubic feet of space with all of the seats folded. So let's go ahead and move on to the interior of the new Grand Cherokee L. I want to specifically, of course, start with the front seat and the driver's side that I'm sitting in. These seats are really nice. This is the Napa leather that you get with the Overland trim. Keep in mind the Summit and Summit Reserve upgrades you even further to the Palermo leather, which has the diamond quilting and stitching on it, which makes the interior feel even more luxurious. But this one here is definitely no slouch either. Now at a glance, you can see the interior is all new generation for the Grand Cherokee. This is going to be migrating, of course, to other Jeep models. I also just sat in the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer. I can't say that enough. And that feels even nicer than this, but this is pretty much at the top of its game. You can see the door panel has genuine walnut wood. There's some contrast stitching here. The window controls are also brand new, and I really love the 19-speaker Macintosh audio. It's a little bass heavy for my taste, but it does sound pretty good. It's worth the upcharge for all you audiophiles out there. When I shut the door has a relatively nice sounding thunk when you shut it, which is great. The button to fire up the engine is expected, or where you expect it to be. And you can see here when the vehicle starts up, that 3.6 liter Pentastar comes to life. It has the typical sound to it. The V8's definitely the one you're going to want to get with its throatier exhaust noise. Now, I already showed you guys a full overview of this interior, so I'm just going to briefly mention a couple of differences with the Overland. You can see it's got Overland embossed in the actual seat backs, which is nice. These are heated and cooled seats with massaging and two-person memory on the passenger and on the driver's side. That is optional. It's part of the luxury package that my Tester has. These are really nice seats considering these aren't the top Palermo seats. I really like the Napa leather with this gray two-tone color combination. It definitely makes the black exterior a little bit nicer as you get into this vehicle. And the steering wheel, you can see it's a new design for the steering wheel. You have real wood trim. You have some interesting silver accented pieces here, paddles on the wheel, and the wheel is a power tilt and telescoping. You don't typically find that in this segment. So again, it reminds you you're in a more expensive luxury oriented vehicle. I also love the genuine stitching here on the dash. This is real soft padded with real leather. It is hard touch plastic down here on this lower area, which reminds you again that this vehicle is not a true luxury vehicle. Down here you can see this is all hard touch plastic materials, but there's good storage. The window switches also have a nice high quality tactile feel. If you want to access the massage feature, you push this little button here and you can see you can choose between 5 different levels massages and 3 different intensity levels. That's for both front seats, so that's all really nice place to find. You can see here different buttons for your driver assistance, your auto start stop. This is the 10.1 inch Uconnect head unit here, which includes wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and over-the-air updates. This is the optional system for $1,800. An 8.4-inch screen is going to be standard, and all of them will come standard with this 10.1-inch fully digital display here as well, which looks okay. I like how it's fully digital, but for some reason it still has graphics that kind of make me feel like this car is a generation behind. So take a look at the map display. It does have built-in map displays, but it's just kind of slow to load. The graphics don't look fantastic. My tester, part of that premium luxury package, also has night vision assist. The night vision, you can see there, looks really cool at first, although again, the graphics don't look all that great. I'll have to see at night, maybe it looks a little bit better. But you know, you can also make the gauges a little bit larger if you'd prefer a more traditional looking cluster there. But overall, it's a nice improvement over what they used to be putting in this vehicle, but it's still something about it doesn't look right. I'm not a fan of these turn signal stocks here. They just don't feel quite as high quality as the rest of this interior. I just wanted them to change those out with something different. Looking over here, you can see there are ventilated and heated seats. You have 2 volume and tuning knobs, which is great. Controls for your dual zone climate control. Opening this up right here, you can see there's a wireless phone charging pad with 4 USB ports over there with USB-C and A dongles. This is your drive mode selector here between rock, sand, snow, auto, and sport. And then this is your height adjustment for your air suspension over here. Like I said, this will raise and lower the vehicle up to 4.2 inches total. Your low range transfer case is also right here. You can push this button. You can also activate a hill descent control. Opening this up, you can see cup holders, a lot of piano black plastic trim here, which does collect fingerprints. So that's something to keep in mind. Storage area right here, 2 levels of storage. That's pretty deep over there. I like how this is nice and padded. And then you can see here, glove compartment. It's a bin style, it's stamped, and it's lined with felt. I also like this digital rear view mirror, which is great if you guys have the interior filled with stuff. So overall, the cabin still is a really nice place to spend time. A lot of tech in here, like the power folding or the power steering column adjustment, the heads-up display, the 19-speaker Macintosh audio system, the massaging seats, the night vision. You can't get that on some competitors, but you also get a vehicle that still feels pretty roomy and pretty spacious. And keep in mind, if you guys even want more luxury, the Summit and Summit Reserve take it up even further versus this Overland trim. So if you guys are actually considering this vehicle as a family car, I thought I would show you again what the second row and third row is like, because Jeep didn't skimp here. They wanted this vehicle to be family friendly, and you can expect to carry adults in the second and maybe even the third row. Now you can see my tester here is nicely complemented, like I said earlier, with a black with this gray interior. It's like a lighter gray. And my tester also has the captain's chairs in the second row with the armrests. These also slide forward and back, they recline. It's not a power feature like you might find in some luxury brands, but if you guys want a bench seat here to increase the seating capacity to 7, Jeep does offer that for about $700. You can upcharge that. And you can see there's these nice little manual window shades. The door panel materials have the same beautiful leather with the wood grain, and overall there's a ton of space back here. Now as I get inside, Jeep says you get around 39 inches of legroom back here, which is plentiful considering the space of this car. And you can see here you have your own set of climate controls back here. There's a 4-zone climate control. My tester is missing ventilated seats here. You get that on the Summit Reserve, I believe. This particular one here only has the 3-level heated seats. There is a spare empty button over there. You can see there's rear seat air vents. There's 4 USB ports down there and a household power outlet. And I believe Jeep does not offer a rear seat entertainment system in this car, although the Summit Reserve may offer that. I know that the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer has that. Most of you are probably just going to use an iPad for your kids. Anyways, the Macintosh stereo system, you can see, has those metal speaker grille covers here. And if you guys want, you can put up these rear sunshades, which do help block out some light. There's a big panoramic sunroof, like I said here. And because this one has the captain's chairs, you have this big pass-through over here, which is nice. And there's a ton of legroom here, which makes this second row here almost as comfortable as what you would find in the front of the vehicle. Now let me hop into the third row here and show you guys what the space is like. Now Jeep actually makes it pretty simple. All you have to do is just pull on this little lever here, and the seat kind of pushes forward and completely out of the way. And looking at the third row here, Jeep actually says you get around 30 inches of legroom back here. I wish that there was a little bit of a grab assist here. I guess you could probably just grab this and then put your foot down here as you hoist yourself into this vehicle. Put this headrest up right here. You can see I'm 5'7", so getting back here is not bad for me, actually. I do have enough space to actually get comfortable. This is with the seat all the way back. My knees aren't up against the seat, and if you're a little bit taller, you could ask the passenger here to sit forward a little bit more. You do have your own set of rear seat air vents here. No manual sunshades, but Jeep did include 2 USB ports on each side. This is also slightly padded over here, and you do have LED lighting back here, and this is part of the Jeep fam cam where you can see what's going on in the interior. So overall, the one thing about the Wagoneer is it does offer 3 rows or 3 cross seating in the third row. This only seats 2 because for some reason Jeep decided that they only wanted to limit this to a 6 passenger capacity if you guys plan to get the captain's chairs in the second row. So after driving both the Wagoneer, Grand Wagoneer, and the Grand Cherokee L back to back, and now getting back into the Grand Cherokee L after I just drove the Grand Wagoneer about a week and a half ago, I can confidently say that these two vehicles, they feel about as different to drive versus an Explorer and an Expedition. This feels considerably smaller than the last Explorer, and this particular one that I'm driving is the 6-cylinder, the V6, the Pentastar. So let's go ahead and try a 0 to 60 acceleration run. Really laggy off the line. Wow, I got 0 to 60 at 9.6 seconds there, and that's with a slight 0.6% slope. I knew the V6 felt sluggish, but that's pretty sluggish. Pretty sluggish. And there's a reason why when I first drove this car in Michigan at their proving grounds, I thought you should go for the V8 because the 6-cylinder feels like it's lacking in torque. I mean, yes, it has 290 horsepower, but this vehicle weighs a tick over 5,000 pounds, and you feel that weight significantly. I'm going to try another 0 to 60 run there, maybe without brake torquing it. It felt really slow off the line, but regardless, you don't buy a vehicle like this for its 0 to 60 performance, even though it's important that we test stuff like that. Just driving the car, you know, on regular roads like this, the Grand Cherokee L is one of the most refined of the 3-row family crossovers now. And yes, I'm calling it a crossover because this is not a body-on-frame vehicle like the Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer. And that's one of the reasons why this feels so significantly different, kind of like when you drive an Explorer and an Expedition. The Explorer is a car-based SUV, the Expedition is a truck-based SUV, and it's the same thing with the 2 Jeep models. This feels considerably more car-like, which is a good thing. It's what you want in this particular segment. And we're just gonna floor it from a stop here. Oh, bad reaction there. All right, I got 8.45 seconds there. That was a lot better, but still, I've suspected around the 8-second-ish, 8.5-second mark with the Pentastar, and that's about right. So is this enough power in daily usage? Probably for most people it might be, but considering the price of this car, I'd probably consider spending the extra $3,000 to get the V8. Now, thankfully, what helps the Pentastar is the fact that we've got a very smooth 8-speed automatic transmission. This is the ZF 8-speed, and in sport mode here, this is one of the most snappy and responsive 8-speed automatics in the segment. It's a great transmission. It's got paddles on the wheel, but you don't necessarily need to use them, although when you do use them, they do a great job of rev matching and blipping the throttle. And they respond almost immediately as soon as I touch the paddle. So great transmission programming, great transmission in general. It's a shame it's paired up with an engine that is lacking the torque. I mean, this only has 257 pound-feet, and you feel like you have to rev the crap out of this engine to actually get it to go anywhere, which is not what you want to do in a vehicle like this. But nevertheless, driving the vehicle as it's intended, just driving around with your family or with your stuff, going to and from work, there's so much refinement in this vehicle. It's about time that the Grand Cherokee has this. I mean, like I said before in my full review a couple months ago, this is built off of an Alfa Romeo Giorgio platform. It's been stretched out to the max. And the beauty about the Grand Cherokee L is it doesn't feel particularly big. I mean, yes, the vehicle is long. It's about 10 inches longer than something like a Toyota Highlander or a Honda Pilot. But in terms of width, it's a little bit wider, but Jeep has done a good job with kind of masking the size in here. The steering is light, responsive. It's not numb, or it's not particularly, you know, offering a ton of feel. It's very numb, but that's what you expect in a segment like this. You can feel also the ride quality. You sit up nice and high. You can adjust the air suspension, which is a segment exclusive in this segment at least. And it's got an amazing ride quality, especially this one here. I'm driving the Overland model with the off-road package with the 18-inch wheels. It's got an even softer ride quality, which is what you want in this segment. And then the off-road tires that it comes with are just sort of an off-road looking tire. They're not really super knobby. They're not really, I would consider them to be all-terrains, but you have a really nice ride and handling balance here, which is what you want in something like this. This is a family car that you're going to be taking, you know, going to and from work and be taking those road trips in. And there's just a ton of space in here, a ton of luxury, a ton of refinement. And it can be overwhelming at first. I mean, spending some time with this vehicle, I finally get a sense of how to work all the electronics in here. The Uconnect 5 system does have its moments where it's laggy. I think the instrument panel gauges also look, it's nice that it's a full digital display, but it almost looks like a generation behind in terms of the graphics. The seats are also comfortable. I'm sitting here getting a massage, which is rare in this segment. You can't find typically massaging seats, but the massage seats function works really well. So I'm really happy overall with how this vehicle feels out on the road. And it doesn't feel super massive the way the Wagoneer does. So again, if you're comparing the two vehicles, the Grand Cherokee L is going to be the one for those of you who just need a family three-row crossover. The Wagoneer is for those of you who need to tow. I mean, this does not tow quite as much, but it's also a little bit more manageable to drive. It's not quite as much of a gas pig. In my week's worth of testing, I averaged around 18.8 miles to the gallon, which isn't bad considering this 5,000 pound beast weighs so much. The V8, I imagine, will end up using a little bit more fuel. But you should wait a little bit longer because Jeep will eventually introduce a 4xe, a plug-in hybrid version of this. My hope is it'll include it with the Pentastar with a stronger electric motor to give you more electric-only range. And if you do actually find yourself finding some twisty roads, the Grand Cherokee L actually does feel really nice to drive. I really am looking forward to driving the regular Grand Cherokee, the two-row model. They were supposed to reveal it last week in New York for the auto show, but it didn't happen. So I don't, as of this filming today, Jeep hasn't revealed it yet, although expect it to basically look like this, but perhaps about a foot shorter than this model, because this is at 205 inches long, one of the largest in the segment. But overall, my takeaway with the Grand Cherokee L is if you're cross-shopping this model with a Pilot, a Highlander, a Telluride, and Atlas, you're going to notice this car feels significantly more complex. It offers so much more in terms of tech and luxury and capability features. If you want all that stuff, this is definitely worth the price. If you don't necessarily need it, you may want to look at its competitors, but this is very much the Jeep way of doing a three-row family car. And it took them a long time to offer a three-row Grand Cherokee. I'm just glad that it's here, and don't be surprised to be seeing a lot more of these out on the road because it is an impeccably well-rounded vehicle, but it does come at a cost. So we definitely waited a really long time for an all-new version of the Grand Cherokee, yet alone a three-row version. But I have to say, after spending a week with the new Grand Cherokee L, there's a distinct difference here, like I said, between the Wagoneer and the Grand Cherokee L. And if you guys are shopping in the three-row family crossover segment, this is definitely deserving of a look on your consideration list because of exactly what it has to offer. But you need to make sure that what it does have to offer is what you're looking for, because this is significantly more expensive, but it also offers a ton more capability. It has its own unique style, has a ton more luxury and a ton more technology features, but it is going to cost you a pretty penny. Personally, I would skip the V6. It's a little too underpowered for me. 0 to 60 in around the 8.5 second range is a tad too slow. Spend the extra $3,000 to get the V8, but the V8 is the thirstier option, so maybe I would wait for the 4xe, the plug-in hybrid. That's gonna make this car considerably more appealing, but keep in mind, the Grand Cherokee L Laredo in two-wheel drive starts at around $38,000 before destination. You're looking at just under $40,000. That actually does include the destination charge. Now, $2,000 more will give you a four-wheel drive version, which is probably what a lot of you are going to add. The Overland model is going to cost significantly more, around $55,000 to start, $57,000 with this one here with four-wheel drive, of course, which is optional technically if you guys want an Overland trim. My tester, of course, with the luxury package, the technology package, the off-road package, the upgraded Uconnect sound system, the Macintosh audio system, the pano roof. This all stickers for around $63,900, and $64,000 is very expensive. It's about $15,000 more expensive than something like a Pilot, something like a Highlander, something like a Telluride. But keep in mind things that this vehicle has, like the night vision system, the massaging seats, the quadrilift air suspension, the low range transfer case, the availability of a V8, the more towing capability. This is all, of course, going to cost extra money, which is why Jeep says you could also kind of compare this to something like a Mercedes-Benz GLS, which more along the lines compares with a Jeep Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer. But that's kind of where this car offers an interesting tweener space. On the lower end, you can compare it with, mainstream offerings, and on the higher end like this, you could compare it to luxury offerings, and it's really just continuing to offer everything that you like about a three-row, but in the best way that Jeep does possible and with that off-road capability. I just want Jeep to introduce the 4xe, the electrified model, and offer a few more color options for those of you who don't like a neutral color like this. It's just a little bit too boring for my taste. Well, with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.